Hello and welcome to our latest in our webinar series entitled Planning Analytics. I moved to the cloud, but now what? The intention of this webinar is to go through a lot of the features, functionalities, as well as additional tools that are part of the cloud instance that a lot of our customers that we've noticed don't take full advantage of. We wanted to get some awareness out there that these tools do exist in Planning Analytics in the cloud and go through some of the examples. As an introduction, my name is Brendan Austin. I'm the Director of Financial Performance Management at LPA Software Solutions. Again, we're an IBM Platinum Business Partner, and we've done a great number of these migrations from TM1 or Planning Analytics on-premise over to the cloud. So basically, to start off with, you may have already been through your migration. You may be in the middle of your migration. But you're moving your data from an on-premise server up to the IBM cloud, and whether that's a dedicated cloud or the shared cloud, it doesn't really matter. Both of these will apply. But what a lot of people do not understand is, as they migrated up here, they've basically gone from a very handy tool, screwdriver that they use for everything, reporting, analysis, etc., to now that they really have an entire toolbox at their disposal. And it's a lot of those other tools in that toolbox that people don't realize that are there, or they've maybe heard about them in the sales process and they've forgotten about them. Now that their data is up in the cloud, they've kind of lost the fact that these additional tools are available. So we wanted to go through some of these capabilities with you. So we've broken this up into four pieces. The first one is talking about server capacities, talking about typical on-premise configuration versus the cloud. Next is Planning Analytics Workspace. It's going to be a huge component. It completely changes the end user experience as well as the developer experience. Cognos Integration Server. This is a very powerful tool to bring data into Planning Analytics, to export data out of Planning Analytics, to integrate it with other systems automatically, seamlessly. And we'll go through some examples on that. And then Cognos Command Center. This is another powerful tool for basically system management. You can automate things, you can bring the server up and down, you can create Cognos Command Center jobs to run a process and then send out emails based upon the results, etc. And again, we'll go through some examples on those. Starting off with the server capacity. So starting on the right-hand side, a typical on-premise Planning Analytics implementation. Most of our clients, you go through, they've got one instance of the product. Sometimes they will get a non-prod instance. Of course, there was an extra cost. More than likely, they probably started off with around 24 gigabytes RAM. Depending on their size of their model, they may have had to increase that over time. But typically, the license is sold as a 4-core processor. So basically, they've just got four available threads to process data from users at a time. Okay. If you look on the left-hand side in gray, this is the Planning Analytics Cloud standard. So this is the standard instance of what you get straight out of the box with a cloud subscription. First of all, you get two instances, a prod and a non-prod, and those are identical. Each instance has the same amount of RAM, the same amount of disk space, etc. They're actually named the same as well. So it's very easy to move things from production to from non-prod to prod, or vice versa. Each one of those instances has 64 gigabytes of RAM. If you do need to go over that 64 gigabytes, there is an add-on, and you can go up several tiers above that 64 gigabytes. You get 1 terabyte, 2 terabytes, etc. But there's an extra cost for that. Standard is 200 gigabytes of disk space. That's to save all of your data directory, your logs, etc. And the standard issue is four core processors, which means 16 threads that are available to process transactions. So whether you've got one process that you need to run faster, you can spread those over those threads, or if you've got 16 users coming in, they can all be processing at the exact same time. Again, a lot faster than your 4 threads that are typical on your on-premise solution. So a lot of our clients that do go to the cloud, they say, wow, our models run faster. Our users saying things calculate faster, and this is part of the reason why. It's because there's additional horsepower. If you go with the digital pack, it's a little bit different. You get one instance and it's production only. It's 32 gigabytes of RAM, 200 gigabytes of disk space, and the 16 threads for the processor. Either way, typically the cloud instance is much more powerful than what most of our clients were on-premise. And what a lot of our clients neglect to realize is that with that additional RAM, with that additional processor, they can expand their planning analytics models to other areas within the company. They can make them bigger. They can do additional things with it, but they don't think about that because maybe they didn't have room in the past. So you have a lot of additional potential, RAM out there to utilize to create additional models, etc. And it's something to think about if you've gone to the cloud. Planning Analytics Workspace. This one is the big game changer for the Planning Analytics versions. It is a web-based interface, and it's going to be eventually for all end users, all administrators, all developers. For end users, it's an interface to TM1 with ways to plan, create, and analyze content. So it is a read-write interface. It is dashboard looking, and we'll get to some examples here in a minute. For administrators, it allows a way to manage the users, start up a database, stop a database, copy a database. You can migrate things from one environment to the other. You can see what's running in the background, etc. You can kill a process from Planning Analytics Workspace as well if something's running for a long time. The key capabilities on the end user side is reporting, analysis, write back, and there's some built-in metrics management, scorecards, and strategy maps into Workspace, where it's literally drag, drop, and it'll create a scorecard or a strategy map. There's also a mapping capability as well, and we'll show you some examples of that. On the administrative side, you can do most of your administration tasks through Planning Analytics Workspace and your modeling. Because Planning Analytics Workspace is a web-based tool, you can access that from basically any machine. You just need a browser and you need the address for your workspace environment. There's no software that you need to install on a machine. So if you're traveling and you need to log in from wherever, you can do that. If you need to log in from your phone, you could do that as well. So that's a big capability of using that Planning Analytics Workspace going forward. So diving a little bit deeper into this, we're talking about reporting and analysis now. We've done some screenshots of some typical Planning Analytics Workspace tools. You can use this visual exploration tools to discover hidden patterns in data. You can do side-by-side comparisons with different scenarios. You can create beautiful interactive dashboards and compelling reports in a single tool. These reports can be very highly formatted, and you can customize these as a user. So if I don't like the way this is laid out, I can rearrange it. I can change the visualizations. I can save additional data onto my worksheet if I want to, and create a copy of it in my personal folders so I can come back to it. Workspace also allows write back. So whether you're looking at a chart or a graph, you can write back to the Planning Analytics cubes behind the scenes, just like you can through the old TM1 web front end or Perspectives or Architect. So it is a read-write as well. You also have the ability to use the sandboxes within your data. And those sandboxes traverse all of the front ends. So whether you're using Planning Analytics Workspace, Planning Analytics for Excel, those sandboxes and that data in those sandboxes traverse those two front ends from an end user perspective. Talking about metrics, management scorecards, and strategy maps. Top left on this page is a scorecard. Basically, you pick the scenarios that you want to compare, and then what your key metrics are that you want to compare. Here we're looking at organization, budget actual, and target. And it's creating the tolerance, the variance percentage, and the trend automatically. You'll notice you've got the red, green symbols up here. Those were created automatically based upon a tolerance that you can set up in the system. And it also tells you what the trend is. So if it's flat, the trend is not moving. If it's a green arrow up, it means it's actually improving. Whether the status is red or not, green arrow it is improving over time. Of course, it was going south, it would be a red arrow going down. The cause and effect analysis is the lower left-hand side. This is where you can do a visual representation of your data. You can drop an item right in the middle, and then you can say what is impacting that particular account or that particular organization, and you can do a cause and effect analysis and start drilling back and finding out what data is affecting the one in the middle. And then the last one is a strategy map where you can visually create some goals, drop those onto the page, and the numbers associated in here are the key performance indicators that are used to measure those goals. And depending on how you traverse up and down a hierarchy and you're looking at your organization, these will all highlight in different colors, indicating how you are doing against those metrics. It's a very powerful tool, and it is built into Planning Analytics Workspace now. Modeling. You can create models now directly within Workspace. You don't have to go to the old tool set any longer. You can create new cubes. You can import data and create a cube on the fly. There's a rule editor down here. So you can modify the rule, you can add rules, you can change rules, you can create and update dimensions, attributes within Planning Analytics Workspace, and you can also do turbo integrator processes. It used to be that you could only execute a turbo integrator process through Planning Analytics Workspace. You can now create them, you can now edit them within Workspace itself. Administration, so you've got many different ways that you can interact with the data. Up here is where we can go into different databases, so different instances of TM1 that we've got running. You can see what the memory usage is, how many people are logged in, what they're doing, what's running currently. I could go in to a particular thread and select that thread and cancel it if I wanted to, or log that user out if there's something going crazy with that. I can manage the default settings for an environment. For the right hand side, I can apply a theme now. So it's the colors and the backdrops, etc. Can now be done through that. I can do life cycle management. down here where I can migrate content from either non-prod to prod or within one environment to the other, whether I want to just do a backup or I actually want to just move that snapshot from one to the other. And finally, I can also manage the users and groups now through Planning Analytics Workspace. Again, if you've gone to the cloud, you've obviously realized that you have to create an IBM ID. So your users have to be still through that IBM ID. Once they're created, you can add them to the groups they need to be assigned to within Planning Analytics, but you can see that right in the PAW administration and not have to use architect or perspectives to do that. Next up is Cognos Integration Server. So this is one that is not utilized nearly enough, in my opinion. And what Cognos Integration Server is it's just that. It's an integration point between Planning Analytics and a bunch of other systems. So when would you want to use Cognos Integration Server? Number one, if you want to share dimensions and hierarchies across Planning Analytics applications. So that's within Planning Analytics. You want to move dimensions and hierarchies from one instance to another, and you want to sync them together. Cognos Integration Server is a great way to do that. Okay, so somebody maintains something in one, they sync it with the others. You can do that through Cognos Integration Server. Same thing with data. Let's say you've got different data servers and maybe you've created a separate instance for another division, and you want to the old server replication, this is similar to that, where you go in and say, bring the data from this queue, from this instance to this instance, and this is the source, this is the target, etc. And it will automatically do that export, import, and reconciliation between the two. If you want to share data and or metadata between SAP, Oracle, TM1, or Data Warehouse, this is an excellent way to do that, where Cognos Integration Server will, for an example with Oracle, if you have Essbase cubes or Hyperion cubes out there that, and this is a big thing that we've seen, maybe one group has got Essbase or Hyperion out there and they want to integrate that with Planning Analytics. Cognos Integration Server is the only tool that is out on the market that can actually integrate directly into those Oracle products, bring out both the metadata and the data, and automatically recreate that in Planning Analytics seamlessly. So you go in there, you basically say which cubes, dimensions you want to pull out of your Oracle system, and it will create an exact replica of that in Planning Analytics and reconcile it. And it will show you reconciliation between those two. It's awesome tool. It's very powerful. We've had some big clients that have used this and have saved tons of time on a monthly basis, rather than extracting files, mapping them to their TI process, bringing them in, working the exceptions, etc. This is a way to seamlessly and automatically do that through Cognos Integration Servers. Huge advantages to this. Another use would be if you want end users to manage the sharing of metadata and data without having to involve IT. Again, this is all pre-built kind of within the integration server. There's some very user-friendly screens to enable this. You're not creating a new interface. This basically integration server is creating that interface for you. And last, if you want to audit how and when metadata is being moved. So there's a large log file directory that's being saved behind the scenes that says every time that your dimensions are updated, your data is updated, and how it was reconciled, where it came from, how many records were moved, etc. And that's all stored out there permanently until you decide to get rid of it. Some of the default sources and targets that can be used with Cognos Integration Server on the left. So if you want to bring data from TM1 or Planning Analytics, SAP BW, Oracle Essbase, Hyperion Planning, Hyperion Financial Management, or a CIS star scheme. The targets, so where you can move data to, you can move it, to TM1 or Planning Analytics, SAP BW Data Store object, a BW Info Cube. You can move it to SQL Server, IBM DB2, Oracle, or text files. There are also some additional capabilities out there as well. And if you have additional questions or maybe another option that you're looking for, please reach out to us and let us know, and we can get you an answer on that. The architecture behind the scenes that comes with the cloud. Basically, you've got your disparate systems over here. One may be Hyperion, one may be TM1 or Planning Analytics, your SAP BW, etc. Integration server kind of sits between it and Planning Analytics on the cloud. So you run it through the server, and you can, the RDBMS is tracking all of the logs, etc. It will create the cubes and the dimensions in your Planning Analytics instance on the cloud, and then you can also export the flat files. Some of the benefits of using CIS, again, I've addressed a couple of these already, but you can automate the dimensions, hierarchies, and metadata, automate the integration, make them consistent across all applications. It's a huge thing of getting the single version of the truth. You can quickly and easily consolidate data and metadata from multiple sources. You can capitalize on your BA and FPM investments utilizing shared data and relational data warehouse and dimensional cube technology. So no matter where your data is stored, we can bring it all into Planning Analytics and get that single version of the truth. Again, IT does not have to be involved in this because it is pre-built into the integration server, and then the tracking of the date and the time on each extraction. So that's the logging capabilities of Cognos Integration Server. Next is Cognos Command Center. So what is Cognos Command Center? Again, it's another tool that is included automatically with IBM Planning Analytics on the cloud that is completely underutilized in most instances. First off, you can bridge providing it is a bridge providing self-service automation to integrate your on-prem and cloud application processes. So basically, it's a way to move data, move metadata, move files from your on-premise to your cloud automatically using FTPS. You can schedule things through Cognos Command Center, and you can audit those schedules. You can automatically send emails. So let's say you want to create a process that a user clicks a button, it launches a process, it copies a file from your on-premise to your cloud, then runs the process, then sends an email and tells the user whether it's complete, whether it failed, and if it is complete or if it failed, how many records did it process. Cognos Command Center does all that, and it does the integration with your email system automatically. So you don't need to create a bunch of TI processes that are using the SMTP, email integration, etc. This is your email integration process, and it's really neat, and it's a really great way to automate users running their own Turbo Integrator processes. It's also an easy platform to troubleshoot and look at log files and get alerts by utilizing a single view for all alerts. So you can create triggers within Cognos Command Center that, if your disk space gets to a certain point, or on a certain day, you may want to bring the server down, do a backup, copy it to some other location and bring it back up. You can do all that through Cognos Command Center. So a lot of the functions that either your IT department or your finance department in the past has been having to do, like late at night, they got to log in and they got to do a backup and then maybe an update or such, or copy, prod to dev. This can all be scheduled through Cognos Command Center and happen behind the scenes while people are asleep. Come in the next morning, you get an email notification that it's either successful or that it did not succeed and why. But it is a way to automate that. The architecture is listed up here. So you can access Cognos Command Center through a client or a web client. And again, this is part of the Planning Analytics Cloud. You can connect to agents either on-premise or on the cloud. So you can set up an agent on your on-premise network to allow the data to move from on-premise to the cloud. It supports compliance and audit, and it connects to third parties. Different hosted cloud solutions. We've got some customers that use Planning Analytics, and they've also got a hosted ERP system. We use Cognos Command Center to go out to that hosted ERP system, grab information and or bring a file from that hosted ERP session over to Planning Analytics on the cloud and import that. You've also got schedulers, SMTP email, which I addressed earlier, external apps, and SOA platforms. When would you use Cognos Command Center? So these are just some examples. There are many more, but just some examples and things that we've seen. You've got files that are on-premise that need to be loaded into PA Cloud, rather than having a user go in and FTP files from somewhere on the server up to the cloud. You can do a Cognos Command Center to automatically pick up those files from a location. You put parameters in that Cognos Command Center job where they could key in what the file name is, or they could select the file, and it will send it automatically via FTPS to that right location in Planning Analytics Cloud. If you're doing an export from Planning Analytics Cloud, you need to move that on-premise, maybe to bring that into an on-premise system that you've got, bring it into your ERP that's on-premise. You can do that export from the cloud to on-premise in there as well. End user notification, so whether Planning Analytics has been updated, upgraded, backed up, etc. You could send emails automatically to that, but also with Turbo Integrator processes. So if you've got users that are kicking off a TI process, the feedback that they get typically with Planning Analytics is very little. It either just says it was completed successfully or there was an error and check the log. Well, these users don't have access to that log, and with Cognos Command Center, you can actually send them the log associated with that error and tell them how many records actually failed automatically. You also have additional flexibility in scheduling, so you can run things based on triggers. You can also empower your users to manage the TI schedule rather than just the chore functionality that's built into Planning Analytics. This can be trigger based. So rather than just running something every day, this would run something based upon some event. A balance gets to such, or a file ends up in this directory, or it's this day of the month. You can run that automatically through Cognos Command Center. And last is if you want end users to be the first line of support for troubleshooting. So again, this is giving just additional information about how the Planning Analytics server is running behind the scenes, rather than calling IT or calling IBM and trying to figure out what's going on, or calling your administrator on Planning Analytics Cloud and having them go into the remote desktop. This just gives them additional information about what's going on. Benefits from Cognos Command Center. Streamline process flows, either moving files or TI processes. End users are more in the loop of what's going on. Reduction in manual intervention. Business users are able to manage their own tasks and processes. IT is not relied on as heavily to manage the back end. And then audit trails of who ran what, where, when, and how. Okay. So some final thoughts. You know, a few things. There is a lot of capabilities, or there are a lot of capabilities in Planning Analytics Cloud that a lot of customers just do not take advantage of. Um, you may have spent a whole lot of time migrating your existing instance up there, and just to move from perspectives to packs may have been taxing, and you may just be lights on activity right now with your old TM1 environment in Planning Analytics Cloud. But I will tell you, if you look at some of these additional capabilities, either expanding your use of Planning Analytics using the additional memory capabilities, using Cognos Integration Server, Cognos Command Center to make your life a whole lot easier to automate some of these things, and then leverage your investments in packs and perspectives, reports, and forms by publishing those to Planning Analytics Workspace. We did a project with one of our clients, and we did just this. And we basically took all those reports, we made them into Planning Analytics books. So now, rather than launching, Excel, logging into the add-in, etc., they can go directly to Workspace through a browser on any device, anywhere. They can look at their reports. They can interact with their reports. If they want to bring them down to Excel, they can. But it's a good way to basically throw some automation and stuff that you've already built by just using Workspace and just bringing those books as a starting point, bringing those existing worksheets and reports and forms into Planning Analytics Workspace so they can enable them on the web. So we are offering up some assistance. So if you are interested, we are offering a 2-hour complimentary examination of your cloud environment to look at your data, look at the way you've got things set up, and determine what additional capabilities you may be able to utilize based upon what you're using now. Again, this is at no cost to you. We'd be happy to go in there and do that and give you some suggestions on things that you could use. Again, if you have any questions on Cognos Integration Server, Cognos Command Center, or Planning Analytics Workspace, any things that we covered today, or anything else about the cloud, please reach out to us. We can be reached at marketing@lpa.com, and just send us an email and we'll reach out and schedule a follow-up call. So now it's time to get some questions, and we'll start with that now. So again, if you do have additional questions, please put them in the chat window. We're not going to have a whole lot of time to get to a lot of questions, so if we don't get to your question, we will get back to you in the next day or so with an answer. But please go ahead and ask your question if you've got one. The first one that I'm going to address is, how can I get perspectives to work on the cloud? Very good question. The only way that you're going to be able to use perspectives on the cloud is to use your remote desktop connection. And you only have as many of those remote desktop connections as you've got admin licenses. So if you've got 2 admins, you can only have 2 remote desktop sessions. Our suggestion is you really need to start using Planning Analytics for Excel. It is about 40% faster than Perspectives because of the way it connects to the server behind the scenes. It's using an internet connection. Again, you'd have to do a remote desktop connection to get into Perspectives. We still use that periodically if we're trying to troubleshoot something that worked in Perspectives and maybe for some reason it's not working in Planning Analytics for Excel. But you really need to migrate all of your users to Planning Analytics for Excel to really take advantage of the cloud and all that additional horsepower and additional speed and everything else. Going forward, Perspectives will be supported, but none of the new functionality is going to be released into Perspectives or Architect. Those tools will just be out there and basically be stagnant going forward. So new functionalities, new improvements in speed, performance, additional functions, etc., will all be released into Planning Analytics for Excel. I would say at this point, from a reporting perspective, most things work in Planning Analytics for Excel that worked in Perspectives. Again, if you're having issues with some of that, we'd be free to spend that 2 hours to look at your existing Perspectives reports and let you know if we see anything that needs to be changed for them to work in PACS. But again, your users need to be really utilizing that PACS environment. Second, it's related to this too. Will PACS versions be updated automatically? I'm assuming what is meant by this is after you install PACS from your cloud environment, you're installing it on your machine as a client. Will those get upgraded automatically? No. So that's, it's because you've installed it now locally on your machine. It's attached to Excel. Those updates are on demand. So at any point in time, you can go back to your Planning Analytics Workspace, internet page. You can re-download the latest version of PACS if you want to, and you can update it yourself. But those PACS updates from user perspectives are not automatic. What a lot of our users are doing is, as they upgrade the server, right, and they integrate with IBM to do that, and they schedule that with IBM to do that, they're typically rolling forward on the latest version of PACS at that time, unless they're having an issue. If the user's experiences a specific problem with PACS, and that's been addressed in a later version, obviously that user could upgrade their desktop to the latest version of PACS, but it's not going to be done automatically. Some of our IT departments that we work with have created packages that will push out on next login, the latest version of PACS that they've downloaded from that workspace front end, but that's not something that's automated through IBM. That's something that's done through your internal IT department and upon login. So questions on that, please let us know if you've got any additional information that you need to know. That's about all the time for questions that we've got right now. Again, please, if you've got any additional questions or you want to take advantage of our offer, please reach out to us at marketing@lpa.com and we will get back to you as soon as we can. Thank you for your time today, and thank you very much.